You're listening to Semi-Pro Gridiron Rant, where we talk semi-pro all the time. All the time. A football podcast dedicated to you, the semi-pro athletes, coaches, team owners, and fans. You're welcome. And now, your host, Ken Anderson.
Well, all right. Well, welcome back to another edition of Semi-Pro Gridiron Rant. I'm your host, Ken Anderson. Appreciate you joining me for this week's episode. We got an interesting cat with us this week. This man has toured the world. He's played ball in more countries and states and planets. Okay, maybe not planets, but more places than probably everyone else combined that I'm going to talk to going forward. So I'm excited to bring him in. He's another one of my former offensive coordinators. This dude knows football front to back and back again. So it's going to be really exciting conversation for me here, and I appreciate him joining us. So without further ado, let's bring in my former OC coach, Dan Carr. Welcome back. Or I should say welcome, Dan.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Well, welcome back.
Well, welcome back, because I do watch your cats here. It's good. It's good stuff. I'm glad you're doing it.
Awesome. I appreciate that. It's it's fun on this end where I get to see everybody I used to talk to. I've met a few new dudes, and I've got a few dudes down the line that I don't know that I'm going to meet. So as this goes on, I hope to meet more and more people from across the country. And I've got, which is weird, I got viewers in Alaska, Hawaii. I've got a couple dudes in Europe who watch every week. So
Yeah.
So it's crazy, So it's real fun, and I appreciate you joining us, and everyone that's come in and shared their stories with us. So let's dive right into it. I know you got a lengthy story, so I'm actually excited to hear this journey. Start wherever you want as far as your football career. What got you into football, and then we'll talk about what got you into coaching the red and black. Obviously, your military background, but
Sure.
Let's start there.
Well, I first started coaching. My first coaching gig was actually in the military, just in that it was unit level sports. It was a flag football team, and they needed someone to take charge of it. So I was like, hey, I'll do that. I played ball in high school. This is flag. No big deal. I'll do it.
Right.
And had a good season.
That baby.
We beat the 82nd, so that works. But as far as like contact football, that happened in South Korea. It was 1999. I was assigned over in Daegu, South Korea, and I was helping out with the girls' varsity volleyball team at the local high school. The children of military members who are stationed with their parents overseas, they go to Department of Defense dependent schools. And this was one of the schools. It was basically one building, K through 12. That's how small the school was.
Wow.
And it wasn't actually an official high school sport. It was, according to the military, it was classified as a youth sport at the high school level. And we only played a handful of teams around the peninsula of South Korea. Not too many military bases there. And we had like 2 games with Korean youth. But and it was 9-man ball, by the way.
Was it 8 or 11? It was neither. It was 9. So
it was 9-man ball.
So a 9-man ball, who do you lose? Two linemen, or one lineman and a specialist?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. That's basically it. You lose the 2 linemen. Okay. And thank God they did, because just to let you know the size of our squad, we had a kid on the sideline that could sub in.
A kid. Sounds like my high school team.
Right?
A kid.
So, yeah. So, I mean, the guy that was, his name was Holmes, Jeff Holmes. It was some Canadian cat who happened to be over in South Korea teaching English on the side and doing his thing, and he got the gig coaching the youth team. And I, just being who I am, I love sports, and I love seeing especially young student athletes work towards their goals and a team common goal. So I went out to a couple practices, and well, let's just say I was not overly impressed with what was going on. But more so, I started seeing some things that could be dangerous for the student athletes. I don't want to say they were being coached wrong or anything like that. I don't want to get into knocking coaches. That's not what I do. I support all coaches. It just, some things just didn't look safe, and based on, what I could gather off of the internet at that time.
Right.
Which, mind you, it's 99. Internet's
say,
still relatively new.
Internet's only 4 or 5 years old, like that,
Not
at that point.
I can find. But,
yeah, exactly.
So he's just like, yeah, sure, man. If you can help out, awesome. I'm like, great, I would love to. So I came out, and he said, come on out to practice, and I'll welcome you to the coaching staff. And I was like, excellent, awesome. Walked out there, and I met the coaching staff, which was Coach Holmes. So with me, that made two. And he let me handle the defense, but also help him with the offensive line. So that's kind of what I did. And we had basically a 500 season. So, hey.
Hey, when I started the Rev, we had 2 back-to-back 500 seasons. I mean, so, when you're starting something up and you're one school somewhere. Building, what are you going to do? Right.
So I did that for 2 years in Korea. And then my next military assignment happened to be in Italy. Okay. And just so for everyone to know, my time in the military, let me just explain a little bit. I was a military broadcast journalist. Okay. I did, news anchors, and I was a radio DJ. I was a television news reporter, and, working alongside with some of our, real heartbreakers that go out there and kick doors in and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So,
actually sounds like a pretty cool gig.
Yeah, well, if you've seen the movie Good Morning Vietnam, I did that plus TV. So, okay. Wow. So it was a great job because the motto was, in order to tell a soldier story, you got to fight by their side. Mm-hmm. So I got to know about the infantry and the field artillery and the armor, as well as signal, as well as, all the other job skills, because I had to report on it. So, mm-hmm. So I say that to say this. I'll flash forward to Italy. I was assigned to Italy. I've never asked for an assignment in my entire life. Why would you when you're a broadcaster, right? You got a cool job. Who cares where you go, right?
Right.
So I was assigned to Italy. I'm not going to balk at it. I showed up, and one of the guys that I worked alongside of, he was a broadcast maintainer guy, Jeff Chisholm. And I'm 6'3", 225 on a slim day. Okay. I'm usually 6'3", 250. So here I go rolling into this detachment, and Jeff sees me, and he was just like, "Oh, that's a big guy." Did you play high school football? Yeah, I played high school football. Oh, that's cool. Hey, we got a football team. I'm like, oh yeah, really? He's like, yeah, we practice, a couple times a week. Yeah, there's a bunch of us, maybe you come out, check it out. And I'm like, tackle football? He was like, yeah, full pads. Yeah. American football. I know I'm in Europe. It's not football. Okay.
Right, exactly.
We're not talking soccer, right? It's football. And he's like, yeah, man, full tackle. I was like, who do you play? Other military installations? He's like, no. Actually, this team is a civilian team on the economy that the league that they belong to, the Alpi Adria, northern Italy area, said, hey, in order to develop football, we'll suspend because they have a lot of leagues in Europe have a rule. You can't have certain number of non-host nation. Really, they're just saying Americans, not right. No more than like 3 Americans on the field at any given time, or 2 or whatever. Well, they decided to suspend that just so they could help develop the sport of football in that area. Right. The town of which the team came from was Belluno Griffoni, or the Griffins. And the owner of it, Fabio, a nice name, Fabio Calesso.
Is that why you grew your hair out? Right. Got the Fabio going?
I got that now. I mean, right. He said, look, we've got a bunch of Americans that are on this air base that's literally like an hour away. Maybe we can convince a few of them, because there was another team not far from where I was stationed called Udine, and they had like one or two members from the base that I was working at on that team. So he came and he said, hey, let's get this team together. They got the team together. Majority of the team was Americans. So Jeff asked me if I wanted to come out and maybe help out. I went out to practice. I'm like, I can help your O-line. Let's see if I can help your O-line a little bit. And so I talked with Fabio. I talked with at that time, I forget who the guy was that was the head coach, but probably about 3 weeks into preseason practices, he got information because he was a civilian on post. He got information that his contract was not being renewed, and he had basically a month to get out of country. So, right.
Thanks for staying. Goodbye.
Right. So the owner and the coaches decided to have a meeting to discuss, okay, way forward and this and that. I showed up to that meeting about 15 minutes late. And when I showed up, the offensive coordinator, Rick Dahlstrom, who coached the high school team there in Aviano, the air base that I was assigned to, looked me in the eye, shook my hand and said, welcome, you're the new head coach. I'm like, whoa, wait, whoa. What? Right? He's like, yeah, you're late, but we took a vote and we voted you. I'm like, you suck.
That's your penance for being late. You're probably never late for another meeting the rest of your life, have you been?
Never again. So, lesson learned. But I'm not one to shy away from a challenge. I said, okay, a few things I want to change, but other than that, I'm just here to make sure the ship doesn't sink, right?
Right.
So, yeah. And that year, my first year, we had 4 Italians. No, we had 5 Italians on the team. And their big rival was from the northern region, Trieste, Muli. And they had this, the family that owned the team, the Zingale family. I think the Zingale's son played quarterback, wing back, slot, whatever he wanted, I guess.
Right.
But he was one of their better players. But he was also just a smug ass. Okay.
Oh,
right.
Someone's
just
father owns the team and he plays whatever position he wants. How would he ever be smug?
Right. And the other thing is they've been the reigning champs of this league like the past 3 years. The only team they've lost to is the Belluno Grifoni, and Grifoni, the only games they lose are to the Muli, and all this. There's a big rivalry between the two. So that year we lost 1 game. It was to the Muli, and we lost 6-0. Yeah, it was a home game. Really, really pissed me off. Developed a sincere dislike and hate for the Zingale family. Not that I hold that true now,
right?
But just the rivalry type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I spent 3 years as their head coach, and I played for them.
Oh, you pulled a Kenny Anderson. You were the first.
Yeah. Well, that's why I recognized what you were doing when I was there at the Red and Black. No,
you're like, this looks vaguely familiar to me.
Well, the interesting aspect of having a team that's primarily made up of military members is I cannot forecast who is going to show up for the game on the weekend.
We talked about that last week. As you know, it's Red and Black, same issue, right? We were talking about
exactly.
That. Funny you say
exactly. That. So we had a game in Venice. Fun. I mean, how cool. You get to travel to Venice for a football game, right?
Right. I mean, that's what's weird is in here, you're like, some of my friends from high school, like, man, how's it feel to play football in Ohio? How's it feel to play in Tennessee? You're like, fuck that. I played in Korea. I played in Italy. I played in Germany. I played in France. And I'm just like, Ohio's good. Pennsylvania's kind of cool. I did play in Canada once. Does that count?
Yeah. that is a foreign country from the United States.
There you go.
In case anyone's forgotten.
Right, exactly. But that's cool, man. That is cool that you're playing. Not only are you playing foreigners to begin with, but now you're jumping all over.
Yeah, our home stadium was surrounded by the Dolomiti Mountains. It was like, you hold your phone up and just snap a picture. It's going to be a postcard kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Beautiful place. But yeah, we go to Venice, and the first thing I noticed was the field wasn't lined in chalk. It was lined in sawdust.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Which sucked, because if you ended up on the ground, you ended up with shards of wood in your eye.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. Yeah.
But yeah, as we're warming up, and I'm standing there just kind of tossing the football to myself, up and back, and I'm looking, I'm going, holy shit, we ain't got a center.
Oops.
So I looked at Fabio. I said, Fabio, you got some equipment? And he's like, I got equipment. So we went to his car, and I put on a helmet that was too big, shoulder pads that were too small, pants that I had to tape on because they were too big.
Good Lord.
But I played. And Rick Dahlstrom, who stole our offensive coordinator, he called the offense. I kept my mouth shut and executed what he wanted. I'm not going to step on a coach's toes. Mm-hmm. And then when the defense came around, I was on the sidelines to call defense. It just sucked because I couldn't have a meeting with the O-line or with the offense to discuss, the upcoming series. But It is what it is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, had a great game there. And like you said, from then on, I would sparingly interject myself to play, just depending on our numbers. But had a blast playing and coaching. You talk about places I've played, or I'm not the Coliseum, but a Coliseum. Mm-hmm. In Rome, outside of Roma, played the Roma Gladiators, and wow, just to be able to step on that field and know that in history, there were real live gladiators that literally fought for their life in this arena. Yeah, and their blood was spilled right on the ground that I'm playing ball on. It's just like it's humbling. It's just crazy to contemplate. So yeah, I played in Rome, Venice, played and coach up in Parma, went into Klagenfurt, Austria, Vienna, Austria, was up there. That was my time in Italy. I lost 3 years of coaching there. I lost one game. That one game against Trieste, won 3 championships. Awesome. My last year there, we played in the championship, and the way it worked out, we played our league championship. Again, we played the Muli and we beat them. And so we go on to what is considered a bowl game. It's an agreement between the Austrian Federation of American Football and the Italian League. And they said, all right, hey, look, you can play our third place team as a bowl game, because the number 2 teams are going to play each other for their championship. So we're like, awesome. First year we went into St. Polten and the Invaders, the St. Polten Invaders. And that was the very first game I've ever had my helmet come off my head, ever.
Really?
Yeah. Again,
well, you did say the helmet was too big for you, so that might be part of the problem.
Well, by that time I had acquired my own helmet, my own set of shoulder pads, and all of that.
So you looked normal at that point.
Yeah, I got to be normal at that point, and at that point in time I was playing defensive end. Oh, okay. So yeah, mind you, remember, I was playing center at 6'3", 225, 230. I'm the biggest guy on the line.
Right.
So
we played high school teams bigger than that.
Right. And people birth children's bigger than that. But anyways, easy now. Right. So we go into St. Polten, and First defensive play, I step across the line. I squeeze down. I turn. As soon as I turn and look inside, there goes a guard. Boom! Hits me. Now, this guard came out of some D3 school in Oregon.
So he's a real guard.
Yeah. Knocked me completely on my ass. And I'm just like, whoa. And I got up. This is the first series, and we're on D first. I just said, this is going to be a long day.
Right.
This is going to be a long day.
Now, folks, this is before the pussies interjected into our sport. So this was when you could actually hit people. And this is where taking someone's helmet off was a bad thing. Actually, you got complimented for it instead of, taken out of the game for it. You get complimented for that stuff.
Well, there was no way to say this was an illegal hit or anything. He just cleaned my clock, and he did it legally. And so it is what it is. Now we get on to offense, and I got to be the center again because the guy who played our center also played defensive end. But at any rate, whole issue. But so I'm now snapping the ball. This third down, it's third and long, and no, it's third and short. We're going to run it. We're going to go around. It's a pitch out to the right side or something like that. My job is to cut off the middle linebacker. No one's lined up over me. Check play side, go pick up middle linebacker, right? And the only thing I got to do is hedge him off. All right, that's all I got to do.
Just get in the way. Just get in his way.
Snap the ball, checked play side, A-gap, went right up, had him in my – I was like, yes! And I go to hit him. I got the worst forearm shiver I've ever gotten in my entire life. This Austrian middle linebacker, 44 was his number. I swear he wasn't looking at me until the very last second. His eyes just went from here to boom, right into my sockets, and he just went woof. And it hit my chin, and I felt it hit my nose. And the next thing you know, I am literally holding my nose to keep it from bleeding. I am completely stunned. I'm just standing around like,
what just happened?
I'm looking for my helmet. The play is still going. As a matter of fact, the running back used me as a blocker just to get in the way. And I'm just standing there like, never had happened to me before. Never. And I'm just like, it's going to suck today.
Yeah. For those of you who have played any length of time, and I mean 3, 4, 5 seasons, that shit's happened at least once. If it hasn't, you haven't played enough downs, because if you don't get decleated or you think you got somebody and squared up and they don't take you out, something's wrong. Because I played against a kid in one of my first year as a rookie in Syracuse. I made the team as an outside backer. They sent me on a blitz in a scrimmage.
Whoa. You made the team as an outside backer. When was this?
I was 20 years old. I was young, 1993. So I'm playing outside backer.
Okay, so it wasn't.
They moved. That's the team that moved me to tight end. So it's before I was. Okay. So we
can talk about you being a tight end later.
That's right. So what happened was, I blitzed. They called blitz, and I'm running. Now our left tackle spent time in the Dallas Cowboys, and he was also a Toronto Argonaut, biggest human I've ever been next to. Right. Nice. So I'm blitzing. Just like you said. I think I got him. I'm on the edge, and he stiff arms me, and I went right on my back. And I did what you did. I'm in there going, what the fuck just happened?
Now, I've been knocked on my ass before. I've been knocked out before. I've never had my helmet come off.
Right.
That's what was just like stunning. Like I couldn't grasp that at that moment. Clearly I'm concussed, but I just can't grasp that moment. Anyways, we go on and ends up being tied 33-33, seconds left in the game. Oh. And no, wait a minute. No, we're down. Yeah. We're down by 3. Seconds left in the game. We're like on their 15 or something like that. So we line up for a field goal. I'm like, hey, let's just tie this thing. It's going to overtime. And so we're in the huddle. We're talking, blah, 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 call it, field goal. Just as we break, our quarterback, who's our holder, and I'm the long snapper, grabs my helmet, my face mask, and he's like, "We're faking it." I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Line up." I'm like, "Whoa, shit. I didn't call this.
Right.
Offensive coordinator didn't call this. Our quarterback in the huddle called it."
Uh-oh.
So it snaps the ball, snaps it right back to the kicker, who is a wide receiver, who used to play quarterback in high school. So snaps it right back to him, and of course they didn't cover, in man on line of scrimmage, and he just right to him, touchdown.
Nice.
We win.
Awesome.
So it was like, that was awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
The second year that I was there with Big Grifoni in Italy, again we were supposed to face the St. Polten Invaders. They came in third again, and they declined to play us.
Scared of you?
Well, apparently we just weren't good enough to play them because we weren't at their level or caliber. And I'm like, dude, we beat you less than 12 months ago, but okay.
We just beat you.
Yeah. So we ended up getting another consolation game with another team, and we beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And then my third and final year in Italy happened to be the 20-year anniversary of the Austrian Federation of American Football. It started in
20 years.
It started in Salzburg, Austria. And so they said, let's have this championship game in Salzburg. Not only the Austrian League Division I championship, but their third-ranked team is going to play us in the in a bowl game, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
as the undercard. Lo and behold, it's the Salzburg Bulls that we end up playing. They get the name Bulls not because they just like the mascot. They get the name Bulls because they're sponsored by Red Bull.
Oh boy.
Sponsored by Red Bull. That's where Red Bull was actually created in Austria, in a town called St. Gilgen. A beautiful, beautiful lake town that where the Salzburg Bulls were from. So we get into that game, and
they're probably decked out head to toe, looking like an NFL team,
God.
right?
Oh my God, like crazy. Like
Yeah,
all their cleats matched. Like, what? Like, that's the first thing I noticed.
Right.
Okay. Mind you, pregame, we are literally getting dressed in the parking lot. I mean, you know the deal.
For sure.
We're getting dressed in the parking lot. Everyone's trying to share Gatorade and Red Bull and take, their Motrin ahead of time and everything else. But yeah, just guys walking around in jock straps and it's Europe. Nobody freaking cares, right?
Right.
So we get to the field, and I noticed they're all uniformed. I'm like, all right, well, they don't give points for how you look. So Let's go team.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, we jumped out to a 24-0 lead on them.
Wow.
In the half. And then second half, fourth quarter. No, it was 21-point lead. Yeah, because in the fourth quarter, we're tied up at 28 apiece. They just came out. They had answers for everything that we were doing. Obviously, they made the right corrections at halftime.
Right.
So they're having some success, and we just happened, through the grace of God, able to put together a good defensive stance and stop them, and then come back and win it 28-21.
Nice.
But I honestly, that game was in Italy. That was probably the most American football-like game I'd played in or coached in, because I was playing center as well as coaching at the same time too.
Right.
So no D in that game. But yeah, actually that game I dislocated my pinky finger, my snapping hand on my snap hand, and I took a shot on my shoulder, got a stinger, and I could barely feel my hand. So I was snapping the ball literally. I just told the quarterback, like, "You better get up on in there, boy. Don't worry about it.
Dig deep."
Good." I was like, get in there, because I'm just shuffling it back.
Right.
I literally have no feeling. And then I am just diving at a D tackle or a linebacker close. I'm just trying to take their legs out because I got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can barely lift my arm up. So, yeah, we ended up winning that game. It was fun. It was awesome. Of course, we wore all of our Grifoni attire downtown after the game and partied and, had a good time. That year, I think it was for the Division I guys, it was the Tyrolean Raiders, kind of the Innsbruck area of Austria, against the Vienna Vikings, perennial Vienna Vikings at that time. They were sponsored by Chrysler.
Wow,
How about that?
These dudes had real sponsors.
Yeah, well,
hey, we got the local auto dealer sponsoring us. We got the local dude. We got the local T-shirt printer up the street. He gave us $50 this week. We're good.
Right. You're kind of used to looking like one of those youth baseball teams sponsored by Ed's Photoshop.
Exactly.
1 hour photo.
That's right.
They give you just enough money to put their logo on the jersey, right?
That's funny. So they have great sponsorships. So sponsors are all down with it. What about fandom? Is there any were there fans there?
Yes. Now I tell you, for the Alpi Adria League where we were playing, my first year, spouses. That's what our fans were.
Typical semi-pro kind of ball.
Yeah, and a few friends of players and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, honestly, if I'm just straight up honest, the first year I was there, between both teams, we would be happy if there was 100 people in the stands.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. As the team started gaining a little bit of notoriety on the base, and we started, they changed the second year. Our home field was actually in the same town as the air base where I was stationed at. It was in Aviano. So more people were coming to the games at that point in time. By the third year, we actually had our championship, the league championship game on the base. I was able to do some handshakes and work a deal. And they said,
put those media talents to work.
Yeah, right. It was also happened to be a big weekend. The base was having it was 4th of July weekend. So the base is having American football. Then they also had a softball tournament going on, a 24-hour softball tournament. And they had all the 4th of July festivities. And it was huge. We actually, that was the third year we played the team from Slovenia, Ljubljana Silverhawks. Yeah, I had played in. That's another country.
You might want to list the countries you haven't played in. It might be a shorter list for us.
It might be. Yeah. So I played in Ljubljana. I also played and coached in Croatia.
Wow,
that was fun. Yeah.
How did you find teaching? I mean, real quick before we go more stories. The talent level, number one, I would assume athletes are athletes anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. But my question would be their knowledge base of the sport. I know you were mostly Americanized on your team, but what about like the other teams? I mean, could you tell there was a deficiency, or were they equal? I mean, what was that like?
Okay, so the league that I was coaching and playing in the Alpi Adria was not the top league of the Italian Federation. Okay. We were probably a step down from that. And there are a lot of teams in Italy that are a step down from that. Now, the Division I, I'll say Division I, the upper crust, the senior league, those guys, they get thousands of people in the stand.
Right.
Okay. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, sometimes a little more. But for what we were playing at, not a whole lot. Skill level at that Division I level for Italy at that time, I would say more of an NAIA Division III school.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Now, where I was playing at and coaching at, obviously a step below that, but the mindset was a little different. We had, there were Italians playing the sport that were learning things we learned back in Pop Warner.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay. Not that they weren't good. Okay. they're just now learning some of those skills that we have been doing.
Right. The stuff we take for granted, that because one thing I did my first year coaching, I found out is my knowledge of the game was far more advanced than most of my players. And it took me about 2 weeks to figure it out. So I would imagine that it's very similar to that, where you know your mental aptitude for the sport is here, and you can tell they may be the same age, but they're almost infants as far as their understanding of the game.
Right. We had 5 Italians on the team, and they all started. They earned their position.
Mm-hmm.
There was no, oh, well, because we are an Italian team, you have to let them play it.
Right.
There was nothing stating that. So the guys that played for us earned their position. And we had one German, Martin Weckerlein. He was our kicker.
I was going to ask if one of the Italians were your kickers. When you said, oh, we had 5 Italians, I'm like, one was the punter, one was the place kicker, one was the field goal kicker. No?
I'm being honest, the Italians were horrible at kicking.
Yeah.
Because they do that little soccer, and then,
right.
you know, it just didn't, the timing, it didn't work out right. And I was adamant about, look, these are fundamentals. If you want to learn the sport, you need to do this.
Right.
They were, I mean, when I first started coaching there in Italy for the Grifoni, the Italians, the defensive line, the Italians that played defensive line, this is going to sound a little odd, but they would line up, and their whole thing, the machismo thing, there's a guy in front of me, I must battle him.
Right.
Dude. No, that's not your job. Your job is to get rid of him and go get that brown oblong thing called a football.
Right. That
the sport's named after. So it took some relearning. Like, you know, especially like on the offensive line, we had Enrico played left guard, and I needed him not to block the guy in front of him. And he just didn't quite understand that.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, listen, I've had some American players who didn't understand that. And I told them, I'm like, listen, don't block that dude. But coach, he's in the gap. Yeah, that's why we're not blocking him. Don't block him. I'm trapping that guy.
We're going to read him.
No. Yeah, so I can understand that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a learning curve, if you will. But once they grasped it, they were just like, oh, yeah. And I think that's probably what made it the easiest for us was getting at least the Europeans, the Italians, to grasp the concept of it's not necessarily the person in front of you that you need to block. There's a scheme. We have a blocking scheme, and you know, you need to let that guy go. Don't worry about him. It's not your job to worry about him. Your job is to go get this other guy. You know, and so once getting them to, you know, come around to that, you know, much better.
That's correct. I'm having flashbacks of my first year of the Revolution when you talked about that, because I introduced a different blocking scheme than what they were used to, and I would tell the center, here's your responsibility, and if the Mike shoots, you let him go. And he's like, why? I go, just let him go. He's not your dude. Your dude's that guy. And it took us, and then I would like, your guard, your guy's this guy, your guy tackle, your guy's this, and I'm like, yeah, but coach, what if the Mike blitzes? You see the guy in the backfield who usually runs the ball? That's his guy.
Yeah.
If he doesn't make that block, it's not your fault. I'm going to scream at him.
Right.
But if you leave your guy and you go to block his guy, and then your guy makes a tackle, guess what I'm yelling at? So after a couple weeks, they're like, oh, now I get it. So I can totally relate to where you come from.
Yeah.
Sometimes it seems like it doesn't make sense, right? Especially if the dude's right on and you're not blocking them. That's like the head scratcher. Like, why?
The biggest thing was introducing them to the concept of reviewing film.
I was going to ask you if you watched film with them.
At that time, they didn't watch film. They'll watch the game.
Sure.
You know, and point out all the good things they did. But when they sat with me, I mean, I point out the good things too, but they sit with me and I'm like, okay, remember when you said you did not let that guy go? Here's the play. What happened?
The eye in the sky never lies.
Exactly. He's like, oh, sorry, coach. I'm like, guys, just listen to me, okay? If something goes wrong, all right, everyone looks at me. I always tell people my name's on the mailbox at the end of the day. Okay. Everything gets addressed to me. If there's an issue, it gets addressed to me. So if we lose, they're coming after me, not you. Okay. Just listen to me. And if I tell you to do something wrong and you figure out it's wrong and someone lets you know it's wrong and you can prove it's wrong, come to me. Tell me, hey, coach, this is wrong. All right, cool. And then I learn. Okay. But until then, just do it my way.
Right.
Just try it. Just try it.
It amazes me how universal, I guess, humans are, because it's like I said, I'm having flashbacks. Everything you're saying, I can relate to my first year coaching.
The psychology of it is they don't want to let coach down. They don't want to let the team down. They don't want to let the guy next to them down. So they want to do everything.
Right.
If you're worried about doing everything, then you're not giving 100% to the one thing I want you to do. So trying to get people to divorce their mindset from I've got to do everything to just do your job. Okay. I tell all the defensive line, I say, look, your job is to play 3 plays and get your ass back on the bench. In 3 plays, if your ass is not back on the bench, you didn't do your job.
Something went wrong.
Okay. If your job is outside contained, fine. But the back cut up underneath, not your job. Your job is outside contained. Okay. I will go get the guy who's responsible for B or C gap or however we line up, and we'll have that conversation.
Exactly.
Do your job and get your ass back on the bench in 3 plays. That's it.
I never used the get your ass back on the bench in 3 plays line, but I may use that in the future if I ever get back into coaching.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it.
Trust me, if you get anything from me, it's already been stolen twice. All right. That's
good point.
Just being honest.
That's awesome. Okay. So you've done a whole bunch of European tour, your European tour. You were very successful over there. Obviously won, you lost, would you say 3 games the whole time or 1 game the whole 3 years?
I lost 1 game.
1 game in 3 years.
years.
And you beat the bully up 2 out of 3 times you played him, or 2 out of 3 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's good. And so then, so let's fast forward to what brings you to the States.
Well, because the military is the military, you move every 2 to 3 years.
Right.
So I got assigned to Fort Meade, Maryland, where I was an instructor for broadcast skills. And prior to going to Maryland, I looked up teams, just, hey, any teams in the Maryland area? There are a lot of teams in the Maryland area.
Right.
And since I was living in the Annapolis area, I looked up teams in Annapolis and found this team called the Annapolis Admirals, the Anne Arundel Admirals, Anne Arundel County. And the guy who owned the team is a Anne Arundel County cop, Jeff Golis, nicknamed 5-0. And he played middle linebacker wearing the jersey.
I was going to say he wore the 50 and he's a middle linebacker and he's the owner. Okay.
Right. And he hired me to be the head coach, offensive coordinator. So I said, awesome. He said, I got some other coaches, but you're more than welcome to pick your own coaches and this and that. And I said, well, who do you got? And he said, this person, this. And he said, and I got this other guy, Coach Smith. And he wants to coach defense. And I was like, okay. What do you know about that? Well, he played here and he's done this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool. When can we meet him? Oh, well, yeah, we're going to meet up in another couple of days. You want to be at the meeting? I'm like, absolutely. So here, Coach Smith comes walking in. And first thing, the owner, Jeff Golick, we're sitting at a table. We're at a Ruby Tuesdays, by the way. And Gola stands up and he's like, hey, Coach T. And I was like, Coach T. I thought it was Coach Smith. He's like, Coach Carr, this is Coach Talib Smith. And I was like, Coach Talib Smith, nice to meet you. And he's like, yeah, my brother's coming in a minute. And I was like, oh, is he coach? He's like, nah, he plays. And I'm like, oh, he plays. Is he just, I'm looking at, does he play for us? And they're like, and Golis goes, no, he doesn't play for us, but he does play locally. And I'm like, huh? His brother is Musa Smith. Played for the Ravens. So anyways, Musa comes walking in. I'm like, holy shit, that's Musa. So I'm like, oh, okay. Talib, yeah. So Talib ended up being my defense, starting out as my defensive coordinator, and he had an assistant, Sean Perkins, and I had at that time an amazing offensive line. From tackle to tackle, we were averaging 6'4". We're averaging 6'4", I'd say a good 280.
Wow.
Now, the reason why at 6'4", our center was 6'3".
Short bastard.
He's what brought down the fucking average. Because
there's one in every group, bastards.
My right tackle was Greg Justice, nicknamed Muggy. Greg Muggy Justice.
Because he'd mug the hell out of you. He was so big.
Greg is Muggy, 6'7", a good 3 bills, and quick as a hiccup. Got a wingspan. Like, don't try to run around him. He's like, come here. He just pulls you in. It's like a tractor beam with those arms. Same on the other side. Big Jimmy. I want to say it's Jimmy. I can't remember his last name. But Jimmy was 6'6", and a good 3 bills. Guards were right at about 6'5", close to 3 bills. Okay.
So if you're listening out there, he's basically describing an NFL line right now. Okay. So,
yeah.
So just picture, I mean, back when the Cowboys were good, which was some of you might probably aren't even alive back when they were good, but their offensive line is basically what Dallas was one of the first teams that averaged over 300 pounds, the front line. And their center, Mark Stepnoski, was like 285, and he was jacked, right? He's just, and he brought their average down. But yeah, that's who you're describing. You're basically saying, this dude's 6'6", this dude's 6'7". I got a short center at 6'2", bastard. Or 6'3" or whatever it was. But,
and Greg Muggy was on the practice squad for the Redskins. Washington. Sorry, I don't want to offend anybody now.
The football team, the Washington
the team
football
formerly
team.
known as the Redskins.
Right.
But he was on their practice. Also, you remember the movie The Replacements? He's one of the background players in The Replacements.
Really?
Yeah. And I think my other tackle, Jimmy. No, I don't think Jimmy played for the Skins. Greg went on to, he played one season with me, and then he went on to play Arena League, Reading Express. He played a couple seasons with them, then coached with them for a season. Then he was the head coach for the Baltimore Mariners, an arena football team. He got a couple championships under his belt with them.
Nice.
But yeah, so I was coaching, hung up the cleats, no longer playing. My back and my neck and my knees just weren't going to let me do that anymore.
Right.
So I was like, all right, promised the wife, said no more playing. You let me coach. So I'm coaching for the Admirals. They're in Maryland. We started off in the Diamond Football League. Prior to me showing up, the team was maybe 3 years old, and they had won a total of maybe 6 games in those 3 years. And my first season, we came out and we went 5-3, made it to the playoffs. Lost in the first round of the playoffs is what it is. Lost to the Baltimore Bulls. We were running wing T, and at that time, wing T, I just didn't know how to defend it. I could not that great at it. I wasn't the defensive coordinator, but I'm the head coach. My name's on the box. Right. So I didn't know how to defend it as well. So I didn't beat us bad. I think maybe by 7 to 9 points, maybe. I don't quite remember. But yeah, so at any rate, the next 2 seasons, the Admirals pulled out of the Diamond Football League and entered into the East Coast Football Alliance, I think is what it was called. The guy who ran that also ran one of the football teams, Frederick County Outlaws. A great team. I think they have, I don't know how many league championships, they're like the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you will, of the ECFA, whatever. And big Chuck, butcher his last name, so I'm not even going to try. Chuck Benna, owned the Outlaws and was CEO or whatever, of a commissioner of the conference. We went back and forth. Actually, my first year, they used to beat the Admirals handedly, and then my first game against them, they beat us by 3 for a last-second field goal. And they took out my kicker that game, my place kicker. He ended up with a tib-fib fracture.
Wow.
Exterior, pinpoint. I could see the bone. And luckily at that time, the entire time I was there with the Admirals, our trainer, she was an EMT and then also worked at the local rodeo as an EMT. I'm like, well, she's helping dudes. Well, not that way, but she was helping bull riders after they get mauled by bulls. So I'm like, I guess she can help us on the football field. Right. But yeah, I saw her set my kicker's leg right there on the field. She's like, this is going to hurt. I'm just telling you, but if I don't do it, it's going to be worse later on. And she literally set his leg on the field, and then he ended up having a couple of plates and a handful of screws. But I mean, it's football. It is what it is. Dak Prescott, look, he's going to have issues. Yeah. Of course, he's probably got a much better medical staff to get him back on the field than
also true.
Than the Semi-Pro team. But I gave Chuck a run for his money that year. They won the championship that year. Actually, I gave a lot of teams a run for the money, which usually happens within Semi-Pro, as I've found over the years. A new coach comes in, and everyone's used to the way the team used to play, and all of a sudden they come in with a new coach and they got a new wrinkle to their offense.
Right. And
no one knows how to answer that right away. So it tends to happen right off. So like my first season going 5-3, I was like, all right, it happens. Mm-hmm. Second season came out, and I completely revamped the offense because I was basically running what I was running in Italy, but a scaled down version of it. Just to keep it simple, keep my head above water. And we were having success at it, so I didn't feel a need to change it. But then the second season I came out and I just completely changed the offense. And the entire time that I was there in Maryland, I used my ability or my military background to my advantage there in Annapolis. I just went on the Naval Academy and introduced myself to Paul Johnson right there as they're coming out of their locker room to go to practice. I said, Coach Johnson. He looked at me and said, yes, I'll walk with you. Can I bend your ear for just a couple seconds? He's like, sure. So we're walking. I said, sir, I'm active duty military. I coach football in my spare time. If I could, I would just like to come out to some practices and watch and learn. He's like, absolutely. And paired me up with the offensive coordinator, and I did a lot of work with the O-line and the running backs. So that second year, I came out in a quasi wing tee, if you will, my version of it, and we had success. We had a lot of success, and we made it to the semifinal round of the championship, and then my third year we were in the championship and we won. Nice. So that was and it's interesting because that league in itself was a spring league. Okay. So although traveling all over Maryland and parts of Virginia, Delaware, went into Delaware a little bit. Also at that time, I hooked up with Team USA football, the Eagles, and Coach Rudy Weiland. And I took, in those 3 years, I took a trip to Austria to play the Graz Giants with Team USA. Brought Big Muggy and a couple other players with me to go play, get that experience. And then I also went to France. I went to England with Team USA, and I came out. I'm currently living in Nevada. Had a game with Team USA in Las Vegas. Played a team from Australia. Yeah.
So we had a couple dudes from the Red and Black played for Team USA. So
Yeah.
Ambrose Souza and
Yep.
AB, Aaron Brown,
Yep.
and I think Mark Bowman. I think.
Yeah. And who did they hear about it from?
Gee, I wonder who. This guy right here.
This guy. This guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Ambrose went on to coach. We've been trying. His schedule's crazy. I've been trying to get him on here,
Yeah.
but he's gonna share his story about all that too. So that's awesome. That's one thing I haven't done yet. Eventually, who knows? Maybe I can get on a coaching squad to do one of those games one time. That'd be kind of cool. Or even just go watch, man. Just to now that I have a job that I can actually travel, I can travel and take some time off.
Interesting you say that. It's really not that hard for anyone who wants to try their hand at it, and you want to put your playing or coaching resume together and see what you can garner. What is it? Europeplayers.com, Europeanplayers.com. That's what it is. Europeanplayers.com or europeplayers.com, whichever it is. You can upload your resume on there, say that you're actively looking for a team, and all teams throughout Europe who are looking for a coach or a player, they may contact you. I've been contacted several times. Unfortunately, at the time, I was active duty, and I can't just, hey, I'm going to leave the military and go coach in Europe.
Right.
I'm
going to go AWOL to go coach some football for a little while. Hoping nobody minds.
Yeah, and then if you just want to see what football is like in Europe, American Football International online, they stream a lot of games.
Yeah.
AFI TV, they stream a lot of games. As a matter of fact, when no one was sure what NFL or college or even high school or youth was going to do because of this pandemic, and we're hurting for football and this and that, I'm like, I just go to AFI and watch the teams from Poland, or watch a team from Finland, or watch a team from Norway or wherever.
That's cool.
It's football.
Right.
Is it the caliber you want? No, it's not going to be. Okay. Is it football? Yes. Can you learn something? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You learn things in wins as well as you do losses. So
for sure, you
can learn from just watching another team play.
It's like people when they were bitching about the XFL and then that other USAFL or whatever the hell it was called.
Mm-hmm.
They were bitching, oh, this is terrible football. I'm like, guys, if you're looking for superstars, you're not going to find them. But watch the game and watch, are they executing? You can see who's a player and you can see who's a phony. Just watch. I mean, you're talking, most of those dudes were D1 players. They weren't shit. So just watch them. Just watch them, and then, they took a handful into the NFL. So, I mean, and that's the purpose of that level, not to go off on a tangent, but that's the purpose of that level. It's basically a feeder.
Look at what the Canadian Football League is doing. They've partnered with the European leagues.
There you go.
And they go over and they do combines. Weekend after weekend after weekend, they travel to all the countries, if you will, and they do combines. Lo and behold, what do you have now in the Canadian Football League? You have a handful of Europeans that have made the Canadian Football League. The Patriots have an offensive lineman that came from Germany. They've got, there are people from all over the world playing in the NFL. I just wish more people would open their mind to the idea of football being an international sport, because it really is. Yeah. Japan, they do the World Cup of American football every 4 years, just like, World Cup for soccer or even the Olympics every 4 years. And I think the last 2 times they've held it are the only 2 times America has been in that championship. Right. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's someone out there in semi-pro football that'll correct me, whatever. But Japan is the powerhouse.
I think the problem with football is that the NFL players are looked at as so elite. And I'll be honest with you. If you stand next to them, they are. I mean, I've met several. We did commercial. When I was with the Red and Black, we did a commercial with Donovan McNabb and a couple other dudes. Yeah. So they are. But I've also played with dudes that had the right break, they'd be in the NFL without a shadow of a doubt. It's about the right breaks for the right person at the right time. So to not think that you can watch to watch a game and say, wow, that dude stands out, or this dude stands out, or watch the concepts that are being executed or poorly executed. You can
Right.
you can start seeing, oh shit, that dude missed a block. Oh wow, what a great block here. Oh, but I just think the masses don't look at it that way. They look for who's OBJ, right? Who's Mike Vick, who's whoever their favorite players. Oh, they don't compare. Well, you're damn right they don't. Mike, those players are one in a billion. So what do you expect? Understand what
Yeah.
you're watching. Understand what you're watching.
Well, the thing that I derive the most enjoyment out of watching the sport of football outside of the NFL is the fact that no matter what level outside of the NFL, you're playing to go somewhere.
Right. Good point.
Okay. I love minor league sports, all minor league. I'll go watch a minor league baseball game over a major league baseball game. These guys are playing to go somewhere. Okay. That NFL receiver may or may not stretch out for that pass.
Right. Business decision.
But that semi-pro college and high school kid definitely will. Why? Because they're trying to go somewhere. So, and I love being a part of that. I love helping people go where they want to go. I love helping people realize, the dream that they have. If I can help, that's all I want to do, man. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with all that, but
No, I think that's where you were going, is that your goal is to help people. And I think ultimately as a coach, sure. Do we all wish we could coach the NFL? Some days. I mean, hell, have you seen, that's a torture of a job, folks. I mean, it is. You got to be a special cat to want to coach in the NFL. And it's not even 24/7. It's 36/7. They invent hours for you to be a coach. They just invent new hours. They change the clock.
I'm going to tell you, and it's one of the things that, I kicked myself is I knew you were up in Jacksonville and I was down in Daytona. I couldn't get up to see you or any of your games because I was so busy with this high school that I was coaching.
Right. I remember we talked a lot. We were talking about going to see each other. I couldn't come down to you. You couldn't come up to me.
Couldn't get no time.
We couldn't do it. We couldn't make it happen. Yeah.
So work in football? What?
Exactly right. I mean, it's
have a life? What?
What's that? What the hell is that? And then you have a real job on the side. What? You're supposed to work too? You can't just coach. So it gets, I think people lose track of what they're watching, right? They expect every football game they watch is going to be an NFL game, and it's not. I loved watching, and I heard all my friends bitching, oh, well, that's boring to watch. And I'm like, then you're watching the wrong shit. You're not looking at what I'm looking at. I'm looking for who's a stud, who's going to be the guy that leaves here and goes to the NFL.
Here's the difference, and I can explain this just in one game that I had in Ljubljana, okay, Slovenia. All right, this team this was the first year of their existence, and no other person on that team had played the sport of football ever. And we go play them, okay? We kick the crap out of them, okay? I mean, it's 70 some odd to nothing. It's fourth quarter. And they are still coming at you. And it's 70 some odd to nothing. And you just broke what was supposed to be a fullback dive for, at best, 4 yards. You just went 30 yards. And you feel pretty good about yourself that you did that. They're celebrating the fact they tackled you. And they're high-fiving and they're loving it. They just want to play the sport.
Bingo. They
just want to play the game. And no matter what the score is, they want to do their best on every down. And they celebrate every down. To me, in some respects, it's a little comical when you see some of these European teams put their game highlight reel together. And you're like, dude, that guy just took you for 50 yards. Yeah, but did you see that tackle? Because it was a good tackle. Right. They celebrate that. We don't. It is lost on us because we have an expectation.
Yeah, we're selfish and we're spoiled rotten, and it goes on.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Right. So that was one of our rants. So now let's turn that rant so you win another championship in Maryland. I'm starting to notice a pattern here. So from Maryland, where do you go?
New York.
Okay, so you're in Drum. Well, all right, folks, we're going to cut it off right there, and we're going to actually continue this episode on Thursday. So I'm excited to announce we're going to have 2 releases this week. Coach Carr has so much to share with us and done so much that I wasn't able to squeeze it all into one episode. So we're going to actually make 2 episodes out of it and release it on this Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern. So I look forward to sharing with you the second half of this on this Thursday, and we'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Semi-Pro Gridiron Rant. We hope you enjoyed the show. For more episodes, please check out the website at www.semiprogridironrant.buzzsprout.com. To reach us directly, please email us at semiprogridironrant@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at Semi-Pro Gridiron Rant. Thanks again for listening.